Physical, mental and educational needs are being neglected by government. Just look back at the history of child neglect in Ireland, and there's one common denominator. The same government parties are still running this country, and they are still doing the same thing. When are Irish people going to wake up and see that everything the government puts in gets broken? Parents are being forced to get into debt to get their children services and equipment they need by bringing them to private practices, because the services through the likes of Enable Ireland, Brothers of Charity, Hope Foundation, etc., are non-existent. Why are they non-existent? Because those employed to care for our children are up to their elbows in paperwork instead of doing what they are paid to do. This is not their fault. This is the fault of the HSE that have told them to do the paperwork instead of caring for our children. In fact, the Disability Minister, Anne Rabbitte, has ordered the HSE to immediately halt time-consuming paperwork over concerns that this is preventing children with disabilities from receiving the therapy they need. Now, my child is suffering along with every other child in Ireland, and it's not good enough anymore. We are not physiotherapists. We are not occupational therapists. We are not speech and language therapists. And we are not psychologists. But we have to do these jobs as parents, because if we don't do these things, our children will suffer more. As carers for our children, our wages, if we are lucky to receive them, is €224 basic, with no holidays or sick pay. This is the means and tax payment. Now, not that there's very many of them here, but I will ask the politicians that are here to think about the next few questions that I want to ask. Why did you get into politics? Is it because you want to change? Is this the change you wanted? Do you want children suffering at the hands of government and the HSE? Because that's what's happening on your watch. How much do you earn per week? Can you justify that wage when children are being neglected? Do you have to worry about fuel in your car to get to where you want to go? Actually, I'll answer that one myself. No, you don't. Because you can buy off your expenses. We can't. Do you have the added worry of your child suffering needs because of the failings of government and the HSE? Have you choose between paying for private services and paying your bills? Because we do. I am asking every one of you to think what it's like to work day in and day out about your child, because those employed to give our children the services have failed every one of us. My daughter Katie has cerebral palsy, and she is suffering with hip location for the last 14 years. 14 years of being told no. 14 years of doctors telling her that her hip isn't now far enough to warrant surgery. I have letter after letter and report after report stating that Katie's hip is dislocated, but to this day she is still suffering. It will get to the stage that my 15-year-old child will need a full hip replacement because of the doctors who keep calling her off every time we see them. If she does get this surgery at some stage, will she be guaranteed physiotherapy afterwards? Because we all know this happens too. She gets the odd physiotherapy block, and when I say odd, it's minuscule. At the moment, she's getting a block of physiotherapy. It's 1 day a week for 4 weeks with 2 students, because our physiotherapist is tied up doing paperwork and doesn't have the time to look after my child. On top of this, my grandson Caden is 3. He's awaiting a diagnosis of autism that his parents already know that he has. My daughter cannot leave her house with him as he is a flight risk. The only break she does get is if I take him for a few hours or his dad is at home, so she can get out quick on. She sends this email to the occupational therapist that was assigned to Katie. And I want you to listen to this email and tell me it's okay to use the child like this. Without any intervention. Poor old kid is not in the office until the 20th of June. And that's the automated response that she got when she sent this email. Here's her email. I hope all is well with you. Is there any update on Katie regarding the autism assessment? I am extremely concerned about him the last few weeks, as he is self-harming more than usual to the point where he now has visible marks on his body. He has bruising to his chin from punching his chin in an upward motion, giving himself busted lips while doing this. He can do this up to 30 times a day. From banging his head off the floor, his hair has started falling out and he has bald patches in some areas. I thought about getting a helmet for him, but I honestly don't think he will keep it on as he doesn't like anything on his head. He has become a major flight risk. I've had to lock doors as he's running straight out the door onto the road and he has no sense of danger whatsoever. The meltdowns have also been a lot more frequent the past few weeks. He self-harms a lot more with these meltdowns. He also pinches the backs of his legs, leaving marks on his legs. He is also harming his sisters every day to the point that I need to keep them separated at times, which is really hard for us as a family. I'm trying my best for him, but I really need some services to help him. I'm so worried he is going to cause serious harm to himself and others. Is this fair on my grandson or his family? But I don't think it is. Parents are at the end of their rope because we cannot continue to be the ones to pick up the pieces for the failings of our government and the HSE. So to the politicians who turned up today, I thank you for turning up, but it is your job to ensure that your Minister for Health and Children do their job, be you in power or in opposition. Show us that you actually want to help instead of giving false promises. There is no point in standing here supporting us if you aren't going to do anything about the diabolical services that we have. Malcolm McLaughlin, clinical lead of disability in the HSE, when told by Senator Tom Cronin at the Joint Committee on Disability Matters and the Joint Committee on Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth last week, that the HSE has failed thousands and thousands of children. He acknowledged that the HSE has failed. He said it's important to acknowledge that anyone who is on a waiting list is almost, by definition, being failed. My daughter Katie is not on a waiting list. Katie's in limbo until doctors decide her hip is so damaged they have to do something for her. As Tom Cronin stated, Ireland is the worst country in Europe to have a disability, and I have to agree with him. So, if the clinical lead of disability in the HSE can go on record stating that they have failed our children, then he and those responsible that have failed us need to go. They are not doing the job they are paid to do, so replace them with people who will. We shouldn't have to be taken to the streets to make our government and the HSE listen to us. But this is today's Ireland. An Ireland that doesn't care about children and adults with disability needs. and Ireland